So let's do some more work here, and let's create, we have a key pair that's been saved by the GPG program, and we're going to want our public key to be out there on the internet so that anybody can grab that public key and do things like encrypt information for us. So you're going to want to hand this public key to people and say, hey, here's the public key. Encrypt something, send it to me, and I'll be able to decrypt it, right? So we're going to want to get that information out. And so we're going to generate our public key in a format that can be published on the internet. Let's do an mkdir, and I'll just call this my GPG. So now I've got a directory there. If I type ls, you can see I'm in my home Ubuntu folder. I've got a directory called my GPG. I'm going to cd into my GPG. And I've got a nice empty directory. Okay, so I am going to type, I want to maximize this just so I get more screen real estate for this private secret key server. GPG -- output, and I'll call this bec.key. You can call it whatever you want. That's the file that's going to be created. And because we haven't put anything like dots or slashes before it, it's going to be created in this directory. Armor. We are going to ASCII armor this particular key. It's going to take all the zeros and ones in the key, and it's going to translate all of that to ASCII so that it can be put out there on the web. The big benefit is of ASCII is it can be published. So we're going to ASCII armor this key. We're going to take all the binary that's in this key, and we're going to create an ASCII representation of it so we can utilize it. Export, and it's going to be jbec at, in your case, whatever email you chose, whatever key you created. So now the command looks like that. Pause the video, make sure you have yours. And it should go through with no errors. So when I do an ls, you can see that I have my bec.key here. And that is a public key. So I'm going to chmod 777 bec.key. You can see it turns green there because we've got our file permissions on there. We may review file permissions in here. And if I cat that bec.key, just like that, you can see that we have this long ASCII armored block here. And I want to say that's not ASCII. I want to say when we armored it, because I'm not seeing any of the ASCII special characters here, but it's been text armored here. I'll have to look into what type of encoding happens here. But anyway, here is our public key block, right? So we've got this large key that we can then allow other people to download. We can put this anywhere on the internet, and it's totally safe. Again, our secret key is still protected. Now, there is a way you can export your secret key as well if you wanted to transfer it securely to another server where you need it. You just have to look up GPG export secret key if you wanted to do that. In this case, the goal is to keep this secret key on this machine because we don't ever want anybody to know it, so there's no reason to export the secret key. Okay, let's install an Apache web server, shall we? apt install Apache 2. Indeed. So now I'm installing Apache. And we are going to take our bec.key and we're going to transmit it to the web here, HTML. So we're going to cp bec.key var www HTML. Awesome. Okay, so now if I go to my web browser, it's not going to work yet, right? We're going to need to type in the IP address, the public IP address of our machine, but we need to whitelist on our private server port 80, which Apache's running on. So here's my private one. I'm going to click on our security groups in our Amazon Web Services panel. And security group ID. And here's our inbound rules, right? So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to add a rule. We're going to say, how about, we could be cool and say all TCP right now. HTTP, and it's going to be port 80. Okay. And we're going to provide a CIDR block of 0000 all the way around so that anyone, anywhere, anytime can connect to this machine on port 80. We're going to save that rule. So now I've opened up port 80 on my private key machine, and I've published my public key to the web directory. Let's see if we can find it online. So I'm going to go to my dashboard here. I'm going to find my running instances. I'm going to identify the IP address, my public machine, which is 125.164.126. If you own a domain name, feel free to map that. And let's see if I can do a Control-C, perhaps. I'm going to open up from my host operating system now, where I'm working at home. And there's our Apache webpage, right? And so we can do this a couple of different ways. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an rm var www.html index.html to eliminate that index.html, that Apache welcome page, so that I can see what's in the directory. Let's see how these are configured. It's been a while. I'm going to hit F5, and you can see that directory browsing is enabled on this server by default. If you encounter an Apache server in the Cyber Patriot competition where you can delete index.html and it shows you all the files that are in the directory, you need to fix that on IIS2. It's points every time. Web servers should not do this. This is an insecure setting. We're not going to talk about that right now, though. That's just a friendly Cyber Patriot tip from Mr. Beck. Here's our beck.key. If I click on it, it wants me to download that key file. So that's good, but we know it's there. We're not going to put it on our host operating system. So at this point now, this port 80 has been exposed to the internet. I can guarantee you the entire internet is scanning for port 80 all over the place. And this is going to start picking up hits. We should do a lab where we just turn on a service for a week and then go check the logs and see how many people try to infiltrate that service. Ooh, we're going to do that. Okay, so we know that we're here. So I'm going to copy that link address, which is 125.164.126. Now, I'm going to move to my public box over here. And I'm going to do an mkdir public keys GPG just to put it in a separate directory. So now I'm in my home Ubuntu public key GPG. And we're going to do a wget. And I'm going to right click in there and I'm going to paste the address of the public key that I just published to the internet. So we'll use wget to fetch it to our other machine. If I do an ls, you can see that we were able to successfully wget that. So I'm going to call it at this point in the video. If you were able to successfully generate a public key and you were able to publish it to an Apache web server, you were able to go to your other machine and use wget to fetch that key from the web server, it's time to move on to the next video.